Let me talk to you for a moment. Everybody wants success. Everybody wants the results. Everybody wants the lifestyle, the freedom, the respect. But very few people are willing to live in the unseen hours. See, success doesn't happen when the crowd is watching. It doesn't happen on Instagram. It doesn't happen when people are clapping. It happens when nobody knows what you're doing. It happens early mornings, late nights, quiet rooms, empty gym, cold desks, lonely walls. That's where champions are built. You see, most people only show up when motivation is high, but winners show up when motivation is gone. They move even when they don't feel like it. They work even when no one is cheering, because they understand something most people don't. Your future being shaped in moments nobody applauds. Let me be real with you. If you only grind when it's convenient, you will never become uncommon. If you only push when you feel inspired, you will always stay average. True grind is silent. True grind is uncomfortable. True grind is choosing growth while others choose comfort. And listen to me carefully. You don't become great by doing big things once in a while. You become great by doing small things consistently when nobody's watching. The unseen hours are when you study while others sleep. The unseen hours are when you practice while others scroll. The unseen hours are when you build while others complain. Everybody sees the victory. Nobody sees the preparation. They see the trophy, not the tear. They see the success, not the sacrifice. They see the glow, not the grind. But understand this, what you do in private determines how you live in public. Stop waiting for perfect conditions. Stop waiting for support. Stop waiting for approval. You don't need applause to move forward. You need hunger. You need focus. You need a mindset that says, I will do what others won't, so tomorrow I can live how others can. And here's the truth most people don't want to hear. Nobody is coming to save you. No mentor, no miracle, no shortcut. It's on you. Your dreams are your responsibility. Your growth is your responsibility. Your future is your responsibility. You either show up for your life or life will move on without you. Every hour matters. Every choice counts. Every effort compounds. Those unseen hours, they are stacking. They are building. They are shaping the person you're becoming. So when it feels slow, keep going. When it feels lonely, keep going. When nobody notices, keep going. Because one day, those quiet hours will speak loud and the world will finally see what you've been building in silence. Success is created when nobody is watching. And that's the truth most people don't want to accept, because everybody wants the spotlight, but nobody wants the shadows. Everybody wants the applause, but very few are willing to sit alone in quiet rooms doing work that feels invisible. And see, the world celebrates results, but ignores preparation. The world claps for achievements, but never counts the hours behind them. And if you really want to change your life, you have to learn how to operate without recognition, without validation, without someone constantly telling you a good job. Because real growth happens when there's no audience, when it's just you and your goals, just you and your choices, just you and that voice in your head telling you to either quit or keep going. And most people quit because they depend on external motivation. They depend on people watching. They depend on likes, comments, shares, approval, attention, and the moment those things disappear, so does their effort. But champions move differently. They don't wait for a crowd to perform. They don't need noise to create momentum. They understand that what you do in silence determines how loud your success will be later. And while others are sleeping, they are studying. While others are scrolling, they are practicing. While others are complaining, they are building. And it's not glamorous, it's not exciting, it's repetitive. It's boring sometimes, but that's where the foundation is laid. That's where habits are formed. That's where character is built, because success isn't an event. It's a lifestyle. It's a collection of decisions made daily. It's choosing progress over comfort, growth over ease, purpose over pleasure. And nobody posts the late nights. Nobody posts the failed attempts. Nobody posts the moments of doubt. But those moments matter more than the highlights, because every unseen effort stacks. Every quiet sacrifice compounds. Every small step adds up, and you don't wake up one day successful. You wake up one day realizing that all those lonely hours finally paid off. And see, the problem with most people is they only work hard when it feels good. They only push when inspiration is high, but inspiration is unreliable. Motivation is temporary. feelings change, moods shift. And if your grind depends on how you feel, you will never reach your potential. You have to learn how to move even when you don't feel like it. How to show up even when it's inconvenient. How to execute even when nobody is clapping. Because life doesn't reward intents, it rewards execution. And dreaming is easy. Talking is easy. Planning is easy, but doing is hard. Staying consistent is hard. Staying focused is hard. And that's why so many people stay stuck. Because they want extraordinary results with ordinary effort. They want big outcomes with small commitments. They want success without sacrifice. And it doesn't work like that. Every level requires a new version of you. Every breakthrough demands a deeper level of responsibility. And the unseen hours are where that new version is created. It's where you sharpen your skill, where you build confidence, where you strengthen your mindset, where you learn to push through resistance. And resistance will come. Distractions will come. Excuses will come. People will doubt you. Some will laugh. Some will ignore you. Some will misunderstand your journey. But none of that matters if you stay locked in on your purpose, because approval doesn't pay dividends. Popularity doesn't build futures. Comfort doesn't create legacy. Effort does. Focus does. Consistency does. And you have to stop waiting for perfect conditions. Stop waiting for support. Stop waiting for someone to believe in you. Because belief starts with you. Action starts with you. Responsibility starts with you. And nobody owes you success. Nobody owes you opportunity. Nobody owes you understanding. It's your job to earn it. And the unseen hours teach you humility. They teach you patience. They teach you resilience. They teach you how to stand alone when necessary. Because there will be seasons when it feels like you're the only one working, the only one trying, the only one sacrificing. And that's when most people quit. But that's also when separation happens. That's when you create distance between who you are and who you want to become. Because while others are choosing comfort, you are choosing growth. While others are settling, you are striving. While others are wasting time, you are investing it. And time is the most valuable resource you have. You can't save it. You can't borrow it. You can't get it back. So every hour matters. Every choice matters. Every action matters. And if you're serious about success, you have to treat your time like it's sacred, protect your focus, guard your energy, eliminate distraction, and understand that nobody is coming to rescue you. Nobody is coming to push you. Nobody is coming to hold your hand through the process. It's on you to show up. It's on you to stay committed. It's on you to keep moving forward when progress feels slow. And slow progress is still progress. Silent growth is still growth. Invisible work is still work. And just because people don't see your grind doesn't mean it's not happening. Roots grow underground before trees rise above the surface, and your success works the same way. First you build depth, then you build height. First you master the basics, then you earn the breakthrough, and you have to trust the process even when you don't see immediate results. Because results are delayed reactions to consistent effort. And every read, every page, every practice session, every early morning, every late night is shaping you into someone stronger, sharper, more capable, and one day people will say you got lucky. They'll say you came out of nowhere. They'll say you're an overnight success. And they won't realize that your overnight success took years of unseen hours, years of quiet commitment, years of showing up when nobody cared. And that's why you can't chase validation. You can't chase attention. You can't chase shortcuts. You have to chase excellence. You have to chase improvement. You have to chase growth. Because when you focus on becoming better every day, success becomes a byproduct. And you don't need to announce your grind. You don't need to explain your sacrifices. You don't need to justify your journey. Let your results speak. Let your consistency speak. Let your transformation speak. And understand that the unseen hours are not punishment. They are preparation. They are shaping your character, strengthening your resolve, sharpening your vision, and building your future piece by piece, brick by brick, moment by moment. And if you can learn to love those quiet hours, if you can learn to embrace the process, if you can learn to work without applause, you will separate yourself from the crowd. Because most people quit when it gets boring. Most people stop when it gets hard. Most people slow down when nobody is watching, but you have to be different. You have to decide that your goals matter more than your comfort, that your future matters more than your present convenience, that your potential matters more than temporary pleasure. And when you make that decision, everything changes. Your habits change. Your priorities change. Your mindset changes and you start moving with purpose. You start acting with intention. You start building with consistency, and slowly but surely your life begins to transform. Not because of luck, not because of talent, not because of connections, but because you were willing to do the work when nobody was watching. You were willing to show up when it was quiet. You were willing to keep going when it was lonely. And that's what real success looks like. It's not loud at first. It's not flashy at first. It's subtle. It's steady. It's silent. But it's powerful. And if you stay committed to those unseen hours, if you stay faithful to your grind, if you stay focused on your growth, there will come a day when the world finally sees what you've been building in silence. And when that day comes, you'll know it wasn't magic. It wasn't chance. It wasn't coincidence. It was every choice you made when nobody was watching. Private effort produces public results. And that's a law of life, whether people want to accept it or not. Because nothing great ever appears out of thin air. Nothing meaningful shows up without preparation. And nothing powerful is built without countless quiet moments that nobody ever applauds. Yet everybody wants the outcome without honoring the process. Everybody wants the reward without respecting the work. Everybody wants the spotlight without walking through the shadows. But real transformation doesn't happen on stages. It doesn't happen in crowds. It doesn't happen when cameras are rolling. It happens when it's just you and your commitment, when it's just you and your goals, when it's just you deciding whether today matters or not. Because every single day you are either moving closer to the life you want or drifting further away from it, further away from it. And those private moments are where the direction is decided. It's where habits are built. It's where standards are set. It's where character is shaped. And people underestimate the power of what they do when nobody is watching. They think success comes from one big move, one lucky break, one viral moment, but success is really the accumulation of thousands of small actions done consistently over time. It's waking up early when your body wants to stay in bed. It's choosing focus when distraction is easier. It's studying when entertainment is calling. It's practicing when quitting feels tempting, and those choices don't look impressive on the outside. They don't get likes or comments. They don't make headlines. But they build momentum, they build confidence, they build competence, they build competence. And over time, they create a version of you that is capable of handling bigger opportunities. Because opportunities don't change people, they reveal them. And if you haven't done the private work, you won't be ready when the moment comes. You'll crumble under pressure, you'll doubt yourself, you'll sabotage the very thing you prayed for. And that's why preparation matters. That's why consistency matters. That's why showing up every day matters. Because you're not just working on your goals, you're working on yourself. And the version of you that wants success has to be developed before success arrives. And that development happens in silence, it happens in repetition. It happens in those boring routines that most people avoid. Because most people chase excitement, they chase comfort, they chase quick wins. But they don't chase mastery, they don't chase growth, they don't chase excellence. And that's why they stay stuck. Because they're allergic to the process. They want results now, they want recognition now, they want validation now, but life doesn't work on your timeline. Life works on effort, and effort doesn't always pay off immediately. Sometimes you work for months and see nothing. Sometimes you push for years and feel unnoticed. Sometimes you give everything and still feel behind. But that doesn't mean it's not working. It means the seeds are underground. It means the roots are growing. It means the foundation is being built. And foundations take time because anything built too fast collapses just as quickly. But when you build slowly, intentionally, and consistently, you create something that lasts, something that can withstand pressure, something that doesn't fall apart at the first sign of adversity. And that's what private effort does. It strengthens you from the inside out. It teaches you patience, teaches you focus, it teaches you resilience. And it rewires your mindset from instant gratification to long-term vision. Because when you understand that public success is just a visible part of private preparation, you stop comparing yourself to others. You stop rushing your journey. You stop looking for shortcuts. And you start respecting your own process. You start showing up for yourself even when nobody else is around. Even when nobody believes in you. Even when nobody understands your grind. And that's powerful because self-belief is built in private. Confidence is built in private. Competence built in private. By the time people see your success, you've already done the work. You've already earned it. You've already become the person capable of sustaining it. And that's why some people rise fast and fall hard, because they skip the private effort. They chased attention instead of growth. They chased appearances instead of substance. And when pressure came, they had nothing to stand on. But when you invest in the unseen hours, you become unshakable. Because your strength isn't based on opinions. It's based on preparation. It's based on repetition. It's based on knowing that you put in the work when nobody was watching. And that gives you a different level of confidence, a quiet confidence, a quiet confidence, a grounded confidence, the kind that doesn't need to prove anything, because you already know what you're capable of. And that's the difference between performers and builders. Performers shine when the lights are on. Builders work when the lights are off. Performers chase applause. Builders chase progress. And the world needs more builders. People who are willing to grind in silence. People who are willing to invest in themselves without immediate return. People who are willing to stay committed even when the journey feels lonely, because that loneliness is temporary. But the results are permanent. So permanent. And you have to understand that every private effort is a deposit into your future. Every hour you invest is compounding. Every skill you develop is stacking. Every habit you build is shaping your destiny. And you don't see it day by day, but you see it year by year. You see it when you look back and realize how far you've come, how much you've grown, how different you are from who you used to be. And that's the real reward, not just the success, but transformation. Becoming someone stronger, sharper, more focused, more intentional. And that transformation doesn't happen in public. It happens in those moments when you choose to do the hard thing instead of the easy thing. When you choose growth over comfort. When you choose purpose over pleasure. And those choices add up. They shape your identity. They create momentum. They separate you from the crowd. Because most people live reactively. They let circumstances control their effort. They let emotions dictate their actions. They let distractions steal their time. But winners live proactively. They decide in advance who they want to become and then align their daily habits with that vision. They don't wait for motivation. They move with intention. They don't wait for perfect conditions. They create their own, and they understand that nobody is coming to save them. Nobody is coming to push them. Nobody is coming to hold them accountable. They have to do that themselves. And that's where real power comes from. Taking ownership of your life, taking responsibility for your growth, taking control of your future. And when you do that, you stop making excuses. You stop blaming circumstances. You stop waiting for opportunities, and you start creating them. Because private effort doesn't just produce public results. It produces personal strength. It produces mental toughness. It produces clarity. It produces direction. And those qualities are priceless. Because success without character is empty. Achievement without growth is hollow. And recognition without preparation is dangerous. But when your success is built on years of private work, it becomes sustainable. It becomes meaningful. It becomes something you can pass on, something you can build on, something that doesn't disappear when things get hard. And that's what you should be chasing. Not quick wins, not shortcuts, not overnight success, but lasting progress, real growth, deep transformation. And that starts with honoring the unseen hours, respecting the process, and committing to your private effort, even when nobody is watching, even when nobody cares, even when nobody believes in you. Because one day they will. One day they'll see your results. One day they'll ask how you did it. One day they'll call you lucky, and you'll know the truth. You'll know it wasn't luck. It was every early morning, every late night, every sacrifice, every choice to keep going. Every moment you showed up for yourself when quitting was easier. And that's why you can't give up. That's why you can't slow down. That's why you can't let temporary feeling sabotage permanent goals. Because your future is being built right now. In this moment, in this decision, in this effort. And if you stay consistent, if you stay focused, if you stay committed to your private work, your public results will come. Not because you begged for them, not because you waited for them, but because you earned them. Comfort steals futures, consistency builds them. And that truth hits hard once you really sit with it, because most people don't lose their dreams in dramatic ways. They don't wake up one day and decide to give up on life. They slowly drift away from their potential through small choices that feel harmless in the moment. Choosing the easy road instead of the meaningful one. choosing entertainment over effort, choosing rest over repetition, choosing excuses over execution, and those choices add up over time, quietly shaping a future that looks nothing like what they once imagined. And the scary part is comfort doesn't come dressed like an enemy. It comes dressed like convenience, like relaxation, like I'll do it tomorrow, like a just this once, like I deserve a break. And before you know it, weeks turn into months, months turn into years, and the life you wanted feels farther away than ever because comfort doesn't attack your goals directly. It slowly erodes them. It whispers lies that make staying the same feel safe. It convinces you that growth can wait. That effort can be postponed. That urgency isn't necessary. And meanwhile, consistency is on the other side doing quiet work, building habits, strengthening character, sharpening skills, and creating momentum day after day. Because consistency isn't flashy, it doesn't feel exciting most of the time. It's repetitive, it's routine. It's showing up even when there's no immediate reward. It's doing the same small actions over and over again until they become part of who you are. And that's why so few people embrace it. Because consistency requires patience. It requires focus. It requires a long-term vision in a world addicted to instant gratification. And you can't have both comfort and growth at the same time. One always comes at the expense of the other. Every level demands a new version of you. And if you're not willing to change your habits, you're not really serious about changing your life. Because success doesn't come from big moments. It comes from daily choices. It comes from what you do when nobody is forcing you, when nobody is watching, when nobody is reminding you of your goals. And most people wait for motivation to move, but consistency doesn't wait for motivation. It moves regardless of mood, regardless of energy, regardless of circumstances, because it understands that feelings are temporary, but progress is permanent. And that's the difference between people who build something meaningful and people who stay stuck wishing things were different. One group acts on commitment, the other reacts to comfort, and comfort always chooses the path of least resistance. It avoids challenge. It avoids challenge. It avoids discomfort. It avoids effort. And while that feels good in the short term, it costs you in the long term because the price of comfort is regret. The price of comfort is wasted potential. The price of comfort is looking back and realizing you had everything you needed except the willingness to stay consistent. And consistency, on the other hand, it turns average days into extraordinary outcomes. It turns small steps into massive progress. It turns ordinary people into unstoppable forces. Because when you show up every day, you build confidence. When you practice every day, you build confidence. When you work on yourself every day, you build clarity. And those qualities don't come from one big push. They come from thousands of small efforts stacked on top of each other. And that's why you can't underestimate the power of showing up, even on the days when it feels pointless. Even on the days when progress feels slow. Even on the days when nobody notices. Because every consistent action is a vote for the person you want to become. And every comfortable choice is a vote for staying the same. And you can't expect your future to change if your daily habits don't. You can't expect your circumstances to improve if your mindset stays the same. And you can't expect success to find you if you keep hiding in comfort zones, because growth lives outside of familiarity. Opportunity lives outside of ease, and transformation lives outside of routine patterns that no longer serve you. And it's not that comfort is evil. Rest is necessary. Recovery matters. Balance is important. But there's a difference between rest and avoidance. There's a difference between recovery and procrastination. And too many people hide behind comfort as an excuse to avoid responsibility, to avoid effort, to avoid becoming who they know they could be. And that's why consistency is such a rare trait, because it forces you to confront yourself. It forces you to face your weaknesses. It forces you to push past resistance. And resistance will always show up. There will always be reasons not to work, not to study, not to train, not to grow. Life will always provide excuses. Distractions will always be available, but consistent people don't negotiate with excuses. They move anyway. They don't wait for perfect conditions. They create momentum with imperfect action. And over time, that momentum builds into something powerful, something unstoppable, because consistency builds trust with yourself. It teaches you that you can rely on your own word, that when you say you're going to do something, you actually do it. And that self-trust is priceless. It changes how you see yourself. It changes how you approach challenges. It changes how you respond to setbacks, because you know you won't quit. You know you'll adjust. You know you'll keep moving forward. And that mindset separates leaders from followers, builders from dreamers, doers from talkers. And the uncomfortable truth is most people are not held back by lack of talent, lack of resources, or lack of opportunity. They are held back by inconsistent effort, by comfort-driven decision, by habits that sabotage their own progress. And until they take ownership of that, nothing changes. Because nobody is coming to save you. Nobody is coming to push you. Nobody is coming to force you into your potential. You have to decide that your future matters more than your present convenience, that your goals matter more than your temporary comfort, that your growth matters more than staying the same. And once you make that decision, everything shifts. Your priorities change. Your routines change. Your mindset changes. And you stop asking, how can I make this easier? Start asking, how can I become better? And that question changes everything, because life doesn't get easier. You get stronger. Challenges don't disappear. You become more capable. Obstacles don't vanish. You learn how to navigate them. And consistency is what builds that strength, that capability, that resilience. And you won't always feel like showing up. You won't always feel motivated. You won't always see immediate results. But if you keep going anyway, you will look back one day and realize that the days you almost quit were the days that mattered most. The moments you wanted comfort were the moments that shaped your character. And the small, consistent actions you thought didn't matter were the very things that built your future. And that's why you have to guard your time, protect your focus, and be intentional about how you live. Because your life is the sum of your habits. Your future is the result of your daily choices. And comfort will happily take everything from you if you let it. It will take your dreams, your ambition, your potential, and replace them with routines that feel safe but lead nowhere. But consistency will give you something far greater. It will give you growth. It will give you progress. It will give you a life you don't need to escape from. And that doesn't happen overnight. It happens day by day, choice by choice, action by action. And you don't need to be perfect. You just need to be consistent. You don't need massive leaps. You need steady steps. And if you can commit to showing up for yourself, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's boring, even when nobody is watching, you will separate yourself from the crowd. Because most people give up when it gets repetitive. Most people slow down when it gets hard. Most people choose comfort when consistency demands effort, but you have to be different. You have to decide that your future is worth fighting for, that your potential is worth protecting, that your goals deserve your best. And when you make that decision and back it up with consistent action, there is no limit to what you can build, because comfort steals futures. But consistency creates them, shapes them, strengthens them, and turns ordinary people into extraordinary examples of what's possible when you refuse to settle. Your habits write your destiny, and that's not just a motivational quote. That's a reality most people don't want to face, because it means your future isn't controlled by luck. It isn't controlled by circumstances. It isn't controlled by where you started. It's controlled by what you do every single day. And that truth is powerful and uncomfortable at the same time. Powerful because it puts your life back in your hands. Uncomfortable because it removes excuses. Because if your habits shape your outcomes, then every result you're getting right now is connected to something you repeatedly do or repeatedly avoid. And a lot of people will rather blame the economy, their past, their family, their environment, or other people than look in the mirror and admit that their daily routines are either building them up or breaking them down. Because destiny isn't something that suddenly arrives one day. It's something you slowly walk into through consistent behavior, through repeated choices, through patterns that become automatic. And that's why two people can start in the same place and end up in completely different realities. Not because one was lucky and the other wasn't, but because one built habits that aligned with growth, while the other stayed stuck in habits that kept him comfortable, distracted, and unfocused. And habits don't seem powerful in the moment. Skipping one workout, missing one study session, wasting one afternoon doesn't feel like a big deal. But habits don't work in isolation. They work in accumulation. They stack over time. They compound. And before you know it, those small decisions have created a life you either love or regret. Because every habit is a vote for the person you're becoming. Every action is shaping your identity. And you don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your habits. So if your habits are weak, your results will be weak. If your habits are inconsistent, your progress will be inconsistent. And if your habits are strong, your future will be strong. And the problem is most people set goals without changing habits. They want different outcomes without different routines. They dream about success, but live like mediocrity is acceptable. And life doesn't reward wishes. It rewards behaviors. It doesn't respond to intentions. It responds to actions. And until you align your daily life with your long-term vision, nothing changes because motivation fades, but habits remain. Excitement wears off, but routines stay. And that's why the unseen hours matter so much, because that's where habits are formed. That's where discipline of action is built. That's where you train yourself to show up even when you don't feel like it. And showing up consistently rewires your mindset. It teaches you reliability. It builds self-trust. It creates momentum, and momentum changes everything. Because once you start stacking small wins, your confidence grows. Once your confidence grows, your standards rise. Once your standards rise, your actions improve. And suddenly you're living at a level you never thought possible. Not because of one big breakthrough, but because of thousands of small decisions made daily. And that's what destiny really is. It's not fate. It's not chance. It's not something mystical. It's the direction your habits pull you in. And habits don't care about your dreams. They only care about your consistency. They don't respond to what you say you want. They respond to what you repeatedly do. And that's why you have to be intentional about how you live. You have to design your days, protect your time, guard your focus. Because if you don't control your habits will control you. And uncontrolled habits lead to uncontrolled outcomes. They lead to wasted potential, missed opportunities, and a life that feels reactive instead of purposeful. And most people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they lack structure. They fail because they allow distractions to dominate their time. They fail because they build routines around comfort instead of growth. And comfort-based habits always produce limited results because comfort keeps you in familiar patterns. It keeps you repeating the same days over and over again. And if every day looks the same, eventually your years will look the same too. But growth-based habits stretch you, they challenge you, they push you to learn, to improve, to evolve, and evolution is required for success because every new level demands a new version of you. And that new version is built through habits, not hope, through action, not affirmation. And habits don't change overnight. They change through awareness, through commitment, through repetition. You don't wake up one day transformed. You transform by doing the right things, even when it's boring, even when it's inconvenient, even when nobody is watching. And that's where most people fall off because they underestimate the power of boring consistency. They want excitement. They want instant results. They want dramatic change. But real change is quiet. Real change is subtle. Real change happens when you keep showing up long after the initial motivation is gone. And that's why you have to stop chasing shortcuts and start building systems. Stop waiting for perfect conditions and start creating routine. Because your habits are the bridge between who you are and who you want to become. And bridges are built one piece at a time. And every time you choose to read instead of scroll, to work instead of procrastinate, to plan instead of react, you're laying another brick in that bridge. And over time, that bridge carries you to a different life. And it's not about being perfect. It's about being consistent. It's about making progress even when it feels slow, because slow progress is still progress, and still progress and silent growth is still growth. And you don't need to overhaul your entire life in one day. You just need to start with one habit, one routine, one small change, and then protect it, repeat it, build on it. Because habits thrive on repetition, and repetition creates identity. You don't become confident by thinking about confidence. You become confident by doing confident actions repeatedly. You don't become successful by visualizing success. You become successful by practicing success behavior daily, and that's why your environment matters. Who you spend time with matters. What you consume matters, because everything around you is either reinforcing your habits or weakening them. And if you surround yourself with distractions, you'll develop distracted habits. If you surround yourself with growth-minded people, you will develop growth-minded routines. And you have to take responsibility for that. You have to curate your life because nobody else is going to do it for you. And ownership is the foundation of change. Once you accept that your habits are shaping your destiny, you stop blaming external factors and start making internal adjustments. You stop waiting for life to change and start changing your life. And that shift is everything because now you're proactive instead of reactive, intentional instead of accidental, focused instead of scattered. And that's when momentum starts to build. That's when clarity starts to form. That's when you begin to see yourself differently, not as a victim of circumstance, but as the architect of your future. And that mindset alone can transform your life. Because now every day has purpose. Every action has meaning. Every habit becomes a tool. And you realize that success isn't something you chase. It's something you become through daily practice, through consistent effort, through aligned habits. And there'll be days when you slip, days when you fall back into old patterns, days when you feel discouraged, but that doesn't mean you fail. It means you're human. And the key is not perfection, it's persistence, getting back on track, recommitting, realigning, because habits are built over time and they're rebuilt the same way. And every time you choose growth over comfort, you strengthen that habit. Every time you choose action over excuses, you reinforce that identity. And slowly but surely, you become someone who operates at a higher level. Not because you were born that way, but because you built it. And one day people will look at your life and call it destiny. They'll say it was meant to be. They'll say you were lucky. And they won't see the mornings you woke up early, the nights you stayed focused, the choices you made when nobody was watching. They won't see the habits that carried you forward, but you'll know. You'll know that your destiny wasn't handed to you. It was written by your daily actions, by your routines, by your consistency. And that's the power you have right now in this moment, the power to change your habits. And by changing your habits, you change your direction. And by changing your direction, you change your life. Because your habits are not just what you do, they are who you become. And who you become determines everything. Small actions repeated daily create massive change. And that's one of the most overlooked truths in personal growth because people are addicted to big moments, dramatic transformations, overnight success stories, and viral breakthroughs, yet life rarely changes in huge leaps. It changes in quiet inches. It changes through habits that feel insignificant in the moment, but become unstoppable over time. And most people underestimate the power of consistency because they measure progress emotionally instead of mathematically. They quit when they don't feel immediate results. They stop when motivation fades. They abandon routines because the reward isn't instant. But change doesn't respond to urgency. It responds to repetition. It responds to what you do over and over again. And that's why two people can start at the same place with the same resources and end up in completely different realities. Because one committed to daily action while the other waited for perfect conditions. And waiting is one of the most expensive habits you can have. Because while you're waiting, time is moving, opportunities are passing, and potential is being wasted. And small actions don't look powerful on day one. Reading 10 pages doesn't feel like progress. Practicing for 20 minutes doesn't feel like mastery. Saving a few dollars doesn't feel like wealth. But compound those actions over months and years. And suddenly you build knowledge, skill, confidence, stability, and momentum. And momentum changes everything. Because once momentum starts working in your favor, you don't need massive bursts of effort. Your systems carry you forward. Your habits pull you ahead. And that's what most people don't understand. They think success requires extreme intensity every day. But what it really requires is consistent direction, showing up even when you don't feel inspired. Taking small steps even when the path feels long. And trusting that those steps are adding because growth is invisible before it becomes undeniable. Roots grow underground before trees break the surface, and your progress works the same way. There will be seasons where it feels like nothing is happening, where you're putting in effort but not seeing results, where you're doing the work but not getting recognition. And that's where most people quit, because they mistake silence for stagnation. But silence is often preparation. It's where strength is built, it's where habits are reinforced, it's where character is shaped, and small daily actions teach you patience, They teach you focus. They teach you how to keep going without applause. And those lessons are more valuable than quick wins because quick wins don't build resilience, but consistent effort does. And the problem is people want change without inconvenience. They want progress without process. They want transformation without repetition. But repetition is what rewires your brain. Repetition is what builds skill. Repetition is what creates identity. You don't become confident by thinking about confidence. You become confident by taking confident actions repeatedly. You don't become successful by visualizing success. You become successful by practicing success. Behaviors daily. And that's why you can't rely on motivation. Motivation comes and goes. Feelings fluctuate, energy changes, but habits stay. And when you build habits around small daily actions, you remove emotion from the equation. You don't ask yourself whether you feel like showing up. You show up because that's who you are now. And identity-driven action is powerful because once something becomes part of your identity, it no longer feels like effort. It feels normal. And that's how massive change happens, not through one heroic moment, but through ordinary actions done consistently over time. And people underestimate how much they can change in a year because they overestimate what they can do in a day. They try to do everything at once, burn out, and quit, instead of committing to small improvements that they can sustain. Because sustainability beats intensity and steady progress, beats sporadic bursts. And if you can improve just 1% every day, by the end of the year, you are a completely different person, mentally, physically, emotionally, financially. And that's not exaggeration. That's compound growth, and compound growth works whether you're aware of it or not. Your habits are compounding right now, either in your favor or against you. Every day you repeat the same behavior, you are reinforcing a direction, and that direction determines where you end up. So you have to be intentional about what you repeat. You have to audit your days. Look at how you spend your time. Look at what you consume. Look at who you surround yourself with, because all of it influences your actions, and your actions influence your future. And most people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they lack consistency. They start strong and fade. They get excited and then distracted. They make plans but don't follow through. And consistency doesn't mean perfection. It means persistence. It means getting back on track after setbacks. It means recommitting when you fall off. It means continuing even when progress feels slow. Because slow progress is still progress. And small actions feel boring because they don't provide instant gratification. But they provide long-term results. And long-term results are what change lives, not temporary highs. And that's why you have to learn to fall in love with the process, to respect the routine, to value the repetition, because every small action is a brick, and every brick builds your future. And you don't see the building rise after placing one brick, but place enough bricks, and suddenly there's a structure where there used to be nothing. And that structure becomes your new reality. And that's how goals are achieved, how confidence is built, how success is created, through daily deposits into your future. And those deposits don't have to be massive. They just have to be consistent. Read a little, learn a little, practice a little, improve a little, and over time, that little becomes a lot. And one of the biggest lies people believe is that they need massive change to transform their lives. But massive change often starts with small adjustments. Waking up 30 minutes earlier, cutting out one bad habit, adding one productive routine, and those changes feel insignificant, but they create a ripple effect. Because when you start winning small, you start believing bigger. When you start keeping promises to yourself, your confidence grows. When your confidence grows, your standards rise. When your standards rise, your actions improve. And suddenly you're living at a higher level, not because of one big breakthrough, but because of hundreds of small decisions made daily. And that's why you can't wait for perfect condition. You have to start where you are, with what you have. You have to take imperfect action, because action creates clarity, and momentum creates results, and you don't need to see the whole staircase. You just need to take the next step, and that next step, repeated daily, will take you farther than any burst of motivation ever could. And you have to understand that nobody's coming to save you. Nobody's coming to force you into your potential. You have to choose it every day, through your actions, through your routine, through your habits. And those choices are either moving you forward or holding you. And comfort will always tempt you to stay the same. But growth requires movement. It requires effort. It requires consistency. And consistency is built one day at a time. One action at a time. And there will be days when you don't feel like it. Days when you're tired. Days when you're discouraged. But those are the days that matter most. Because showing up on hard days builds character. Showing up on boring days builds resilience. Showing up on lonely days builds strength. And over time, that strength compounds. And one day you look back and realize that the person you used to be couldn't handle the life you're living now. And that transformation didn't happen by accident. It happened because you committed to small actions daily. Because you refused to quit when progress felt slow. Because you kept moving even when nobody was watching. And that's what massive change really looks like. Not loud, not dramatic, not instant, but quiet, steady, consistent. Built in the unseen hours through small actions repeated day after day until they reshape your reality. And if you can understand this, if you can commit to this, if you can trust this process, there is no limit to what you can become. Because greatness is not created in big moments. It's created in small moments done consistently. And those moments are available to you right now, today, in this choice, in this action. And the question is not whether small actions work. The question is whether you're willing to do them every day. Stop waiting for motivation. Move anyway. Because motivation is one of the most unreliable forces on the planet. It comes and goes like the weather. It rises when things feel exciting and disappears the moment life gets uncomfortable. And if your progress depends on how you feel, you will spend most of your life standing still, waiting for the perfect mood, the perfect energy, the perfect moment that never comes. And that's why so many people stay stuck. Not because they lack talent, not because they lack opportunity, but because they're waiting to feel ready before they act. When in reality, readiness is created through action, not the other way around. And the truth is, you don't get motivated and move, you move, and then motivation follows. Momentum is born from movement. Clarity comes from doing. Confidence comes from showing up. And the longer you wait, the heavier everything comes. Hesitation turns into doubt. Doubt turns into fear. Fear turns into paralysis. And suddenly days turn into months and months turn into years of unrealized potential. Because you believed the lie that you had to feel inspired before you started. But inspiration is a luxury and growth requires commitment. Because life doesn't care about your feelings. Your goals don't care about your moves. Your future doesn't care whether you're tired or discouraged. Time is moving regardless. And every day you delay is a day you don't get back. And that's why successful people don't negotiate with motivation. They operate on stand. They move based on decisions, not emotions. They show up because it's who they are, not because they feel like it, not because they feel like it. And that mindset is everything. Because when you stop depending on motivation, you become unstoppable. Now your progress isn't tied to excitement. It's tied to consistency. It's tied to identity. It's tied to the understanding that action is non-negotiable. And you have to understand this. Most people quit at the beginning, not because the journey is too hard, but because the start feels uncomfortable. The start feels awkward. The start feels uncertain. Uncertainty scares people. But everything new feels uncomfortable at first. Growth always feels unfamiliar. Improvement always feels awkward. And waiting for motivation to remove that discomfort is like waiting for traffic to disappear before you drive. It doesn't work that way. You move through it. And every step forward reduces resistance to it. Every action builds confidence. Every effort creates momentum. And momentum changes everything. Because once momentum starts working in your favor, it carries you forward, even on days when you're tired, even on days when you're discouraged, even on days when you want to quit. And that's why starting is so powerful, because starting breaks inertia. It shifts your identity from someone who plans to someone who acts, and action is the bridge between who you are and who you want to become. And most people never cross that bridge because they're waiting for motivation to escort them across. But motivation doesn't build bridges, action does. And you don't need to feel ready. You just need to begin, because readiness is developed through repetition. Confidence is built through experience, and experience comes from doing, not thinking. And the mind will always try to protect you from discomfort. It will offer excuses, distractions, rationalization. It will tell you tomorrow is a better day. Next week is a better time. Next month you'll have more energy. Next year you'll be more prepared. But tomorrow becomes next week. Next week becomes next year. And suddenly life has passed you by. Because you kept listening to a voice that values comfort over growth. And you have to learn how to override that voice. How to act even when it's quiet. How to move even when it's heavy. How to push even when it's lonely. Because those moments build character, they build resilience. They build strength. And strength isn't built in moments of excitement. It's built in moments of resistance when you do what needs to be done despite how you feel. And that's what separates achievers from dreamers. Achievers take action when it's inconvenient. Dreamers wait for perfect conditions. Achievers understand that perfection is an illusion. Progress is the goal, and they focus on small steps, not flawless plans. Because small steps taken consistently will always beat perfect plans that never get executed. And you don't need motivation to take small steps. You need commitment. You need clarity. You need to decide that your future matters more than your temporary comfort. That your goals deserve effort even when you're tired. That your potential deserves action even when you're unsure. And that decision changes everything. Because now you're not waiting for external energy. You're generating internal drive, and internal drive is powerful. It doesn't depend on circumstances. It doesn't fade when things get hard. It's rooted in purpose, and purpose gives you direction even when motivation is low. And that's why you have to connect your actions to something bigger than how you feel in the moment. You have to know why you're doing what you're doing. Because when your why is strong, your excuses become weak. And you stop asking, do I feel like it? And start asking, what needs to be done? And that shift is life-changing because now you're living intentionally, not emotionally. You're building your future instead of reacting to your present. And there will be days when you don't see progress, days when effort feels pointless, days when you wonder if it's even working. But those days are part of the process, and the only way to fail is to stop moving. Because movement creates learning. Learning creates growth, and growth creates results. And you have to trust that process even when you can't see the outcome. Because results are delayed reactions to consistent action. And most people quit right before the breakthrough because they mistake slow progress for failure. But slow progress is still progress. Silent growth is still growth. And the unseen work is still working even when it doesn't feel like it. And you don't need motivation to keep going. You need faith in the process. You need belief in yourself. You need the courage to act without guarantees. Because nothing meaningful comes with guarantees. Every dream requires risk. Every goal requires effort. Every transformation requires you to step into uncertainty. And waiting for motivation is just another way of avoiding that uncertainty. But you don't grow in certainty, you grow in action. And action builds evidence. Evidence builds confidence, and confidence fuels more action. And that cycle is how lives change, not through waiting, not through wishing, but through moving. You don't have to feel powerful to act powerfully. You don't have to feel confident to take confident steps. You don't have to feel ready to begin. You just have to decide. And decision is the birthplace of change. Because once you decide, you stop debating. Once you decide, you stop hesitating. Once you decide, you start moving. And movement creates momentum. And momentum creates progress. And progress creates belief. And belief creates a new identity. And that identity shapes your future. And that's why you can't afford to wait for motivation. Because motivation is temporary, but your life is permanent. Your goals are permanent. Your potential is permanent. And every day you delay is a day you're choosing comfort over growth. And growth doesn't wait. Opportunity doesn't pause. Time doesn't slow down. So you have to move now, imperfectly, awkwardly, uncertainly. But you have to move because action is the cure for fear. Action is the cure for doubt. Action is the cure for stagnation. And once you start moving, you realize that the thing you were waiting for was never motivation. It was courage. And courage isn't something you feed. It's something you practice. Every time you take action despite resistance, and that practice builds strength, and that strength carries you forward. And one day you'll look back and realize that the moment everything changed wasn't when you felt motivated. It was when you decided to move anyway. Consistency beats talent when talent doesn't show up. And that truth is brutally simple yet profoundly ignored. Because most people worship natural ability while overlooking the power of repeated effort. They idolize prodigies and geniuses while forgetting that every one of them became remarkable through countless hours of practice. Countless days of showing up even when they didn't feel like it. Countless nights where nobody was watching. And the difference between someone who achieves greatness and someone who doesn't isn't always intelligent. It's commitment to the grind. It's the refusal to quit. It's the willingness to take action day after day, week after week, year after year, even when progress is slow. Even when recognition is absent, even when the world doubts them. And consistency is what separates the fleeting success from lasting achievement, because talent alone is fragile. Talent is unreliable. Talent can be derailed by distraction, procrastination, doubt, or a lack of preparation. While consistency is unstoppable, it doesn't care about mood. It doesn't care about energy. It doesn't care about circumstances. It simply moves forward. And those who understand that operate on a different level because they know that showing up is more important than feeling ready. That repetition matters more than inspiration. That persistence outweighs raw ability. And that's why so many talented people never reach their potential. Because they wait for motivation, they wait for the perfect opportunity, they wait for the right feeling to take action, but opportunity doesn't wait. Time doesn't pause, and the world doesn't care about talent that sits idle, and consistency forces you to confront your limits, to go beyond your comfort zone, to push past excuses, and to grow in ways that raw talent never could. Because talent without effort eventually fades. It becomes irrelevant. It doesn't scale. It doesn't sustain. Anyone can see that in every arena of life, whether it's sports, business, education, or art. The person who shows up every day, who practices relentlessly, who commits to incremental improvement, who treats small daily wins as non-negotiable, eventually overtakes the naturally gifted person who relies only on ability without structure, without follow-through, without dedication. Because consistency compounds, it stacks over time. It builds momentum, and momentum amplifies results, while talent alone remains flat. Talent alone often deceives people into believing they don't need to work hard. Talent alone can lull them into laziness, complacency, or entitlement. And that's why champions don't just train when it's convenient. They train even when it's inconvenient. They study even when they rather relax. They push even when it's uncomfortable. They sacrifice even when others are celebrating, because they understand that excellence isn't a product of ability, it's a product of persistence. And persistence requires showing up when no one is watching. Persistence requires repetition when there is no immediate reward. Persistence requires long-term thinking in a world addicted to instant gratification. And when you embrace that mindset, consistency becomes your superpower. It turns small, imperfect efforts into breakthroughs. It transforms ordinary people into extraordinary achievers. It bridges the gap between potential and results. It allows someone with average ability to outperform someone with exceptional talent who was inconsistent. And the beautiful part is that consistency is available to anyone. It doesn't require extraordinary skill. It doesn't depend on luck. It doesn't favor certain people over others. It simply rewards those who commit, those who persist, those who refuse to quit. And yet most people overlook it because consistency doesn't look glamorous. It doesn't produce instant headlines. It doesn't come with applause. It doesn't feel exciting, but that's exactly why it works. Because it's quiet, it's reliable, it's compounding in ways that can't be seen in a single day, a single week, or even a single month. But over years, it transforms lives, it builds mastery, it solidifies character, it develops resilience, and it turns effort into skill, skill into results, and results into legacy. And that's the ultimate lesson for anyone who wants to achieve anything meaningful in life. Talent is nothing without action. Ability is meaningless without follow-through. Intelligence wasted without repetition. And all the natural gifts in the world cannot substitute for showing up consistently, because life measures results, and results are produced by consistent effort, not sporadic bursts of brilliance. And that's why the most successful people in the world don't rely on talent alone. They rely on systems, on habits, on routines, on the relentless practice of doing the work every day, regardless of feelings, regardless of energy, regardless of recognition, because they understand that over time, Consistency compounds, and compounding creates unstoppable momentum. Momentum that carries them past competitors, past obstacles, past doubt, past setbacks, and eventually puts them in a position where talent no longer matters because consistency has already done the heavy lifting. And you have to realize that this principle applies to every part of life. Whether you're building a business, improving your health, mastering a craft, or developing relationships, consistent small actions are what produce meaningful change. Repeated efforts, day after day, shape habits, habits shape identity, and identity shapes destiny. And anyone who ignores this truth is choosing short-term comfort over long-term growth, instant satisfaction over sustainable success. But those who embrace consistency understand that every day matters, that every choice matters, that every repetition matters, and they operate with patience, discipline, and foresight because they know that real results are not immediate. They're earned, they're developed, they're compounded over time. And that's why it's said that the person who shows up consistently will always outperform the person who relies solely on talent. Because talent alone cannot overcome inconsistency. Talent alone cannot weather setbacks. Talent alone cannot sustain growth. But consistency does all of that and more. Consistency creates reliability. Consistency builds trust. Consistency trains the mind, conditions the body, and strengthens the spirit. And in a world where most people quit when the first challenge arises, the person who keeps going day in, day out becomes extraordinary. They become unstoppable. They become someone others admire, not just for ability, but for their relentless dedication, for their unwavering commitment, for their unshakable routine. And that is a power that talent alone can never match. Because talent is temporary, skills can fade, opportunities can be missed, but consistent effort builds a foundation that can't be destroyed. It supports growth, it nurtures progress. It generates results, even when the path is difficult. And the most important lesson is that you don't have to be the most talented person to succeed. You just have to be the most consistent. You just have to show up when others quit. You just have to continue when others rest. You just have to put in the work day after day. And over time, that work turns into results. Results turn into mastery, turns into achievement, and achievement turns into a legacy built not by luck, not by chance, not by natural ability alone, but by the simple, powerful principle that consistency beats talent when talent doesn't show up. And the moment you understand that, your mindset shifts, your priorities change, your habits improve, and your results skyrocket because you're no longer waiting for perfect conditions. You're no longer relying on fleeting moments of inspiration. You're no longer dependent on talent alone. You're relying on the most reliable force in the universe. Persistent, consistent daily action. And that, my friend, is what transforms ordinary people into extraordinary achievers. What turns potential into reality. What separates the dreamers from the doers. What builds lives that matter. What allows someone to rise above average and achieve greatness. Not because they were born talented, but because they refuse to let inconsistency define them. Refuse to let excuses dictate their actions. Refuse to quit when the going got tough and showed up every day over and over again until talent alone became irrelevant in the face of unstoppable consistency. Your future is built in the hours no one sees. And that truth is both simple and profound. Because the visible results, the awards, the recognition, the praise, and the success that people admire are only the tip of the iceberg. They are the end product of countless unseen hours, countless silent repetition, countless small sacrifices, countless early mornings and late nights, hours spent refining skills, building habits, learning lessons, facing challenges, and doing work that nobody notices, nobody applauds, and nobody celebrates. And most people overlook those unseen hours because they focus only on outcomes, on instant gratification, on recognition. But life doesn't reward those who only show up for the spotlight. It rewards those who commit to the unseen work, the consistent grind, the silent effort that builds confidence and resilience over time, because success is rarely born out of convenience. It is cultivated in solitude, in persistence, in repetition, in the willingness to do what others won't. And the truth is that everyone has the same 24 hours in a day. Everyone has the same opportunities to invest in themselves, to improve, to learn. And yet some people rise while others remain stagnant. And the difference isn't luck. It isn't privilege. It isn't intelligence. It is how those hours, all seen moments of leverage, how the small, seemingly insignificant choices accumulate into a life of purpose, a life of achievement, a life of fulfillment, because every hour you spend sharpening your mind, strengthening your body, expanding your skills, building relationships, creating systems, and challenging yourself adds to the foundation of your future. While every hour spent on distractions, excuses, and mindless consumption erodes that foundation. And the unseen hours are where character is formed, where resilience is tested, where discipline is internalized, where perseverance becomes a habit. Because nobody is watching when you push past fatigue, when you study while others sleep, when you practice while others party, when you work while others rest, when you prepare while others procrastinate. And that is exactly why most people never reach their potential. They focus on the visible. They chase the applause. They wait for recognition. And in doing so, they ignore the quiet, powerful work that actually determines their trajectory. And yet the reality is that nothing worthwhile is achieved without it. Nothing extraordinary is built without it. And the only way to truly outpace competition, to truly master a craft, to truly change your life is to embrace the unseen hours, to dedicate yourself to the process, to fall in love with the work that goes uncelebrated, to understand that greatness is not in the moments of glory, but in the moments of preparation. Because the visible success is just a reflection of invisible effort. The trophy is just the echo of quiet work. The recognition is just a byproduct of relentless consistency. And if you can commit to investing in those hours, if you can show up for yourself when nobody's watching, if you can push through boredom, fatigue, doubt, and distraction, then your future becomes unstoppable. Because habits formed in unseen hours compound. Knowledge gained in unseen hours compound. Skills built in unseen hours compound. Relationships nurtured in unseen hours compound. Mindset strengthened in unseen hours compound. And that compounding effect creates momentum that carries you forward. Even when circumstances are difficult, even when progress feels slow, even when recognition is absent, and most people never experience that compounding because they never dedicate themselves to the unseen work. They never embrace the quiet preparation. They never understand that the hours nobody sees are the hours that determine everything. And yet this is where winners are made. This is where leaders are forged. This is where excellence cultivated. This is where ordinary people separate themselves from the rest. Because while everyone else is seeking shortcuts, looking for easy wins, waiting for motivation, or chasing temporary validation, those who succeed understand that the unseen hours are sacred. They are inviolable. They are the currency of achievement. And every day you invest in them, you are creating a stronger future version of yourself. One who is capable, resilient, knowledgeable, disciplined, prepared, and unstoppable. And there will be moments of doubt, moments when the work feels pointless, moments when the sacrifices feel heavy, moments when the grind seems endless. But those are the moments that define you. Those are the moments that differentiate the average from the extraordinary. Those are the moments where your commitment is tested, where your mindset is proven, where your potential is actualized. Because the unseen hours are not just about skill, they are about identity. They are about becoming the type of person who can handle success, the type of person who can sustain achievement, the type of person who can rise above obstacles. And the beauty of it is that nobody can take those hours away from you. Nobody can replicate your effort. Nobody can undermine your consistency. Because the work you do in private is yours alone. And over time, that private work manifests in public results. Because excellence cannot exist without preparation. Greatness cannot emerge without investment. And transformation cannot happen without dedication. And yet most people give up before reaching that stage. They stop before seeing results. They quit before understanding that success is the natural outcome of persistent, unseen effort. And that is why you have to embrace the unseen hours. You have to respect them. You have to guard them. You have to prioritize them because your future self is counting on every moment you invest today. Every extra hour you put in, every repetition, every disciplined choice, every focused effort, every moment spent improving, learning, practicing, reflecting, and growing is building a foundation for your future that cannot be shaken, cannot be undermined, and cannot be replicated by anyone else. And when you live this way, when you honor the unseen hours, when you commit to the quiet grind, when you dedicate yourself to the process instead of the applause, your results eventually become inevitable. Your success becomes unstoppable. Your growth becomes exponential. And your life transforms in ways that few others will ever understand because they never experienced the invisible effort that underpins. And the ultimate truth is that everyone has access to the unseen hours. Everyone has the opportunity to invest. Everyone can choose to act when no one is watching. Everyone can decide to prioritize growth over comfort, effort over ease, preparation over shortcuts. And those who do will inevitably create a future far beyond what most people imagine because the unseen hours are not wasted. They are not insignificant. They are not optional. They are essential. They are the secret to mastery, achievement, and lasting success. And when you dedicate yourself to them, when you protect them, when you leverage them, you are writing a future that cannot be denied, a life that cannot be copied, a legacy that cannot be taken. And that is why the unseen hours matter more than any visible moment. Because your future, your success, your identity, and your destiny are built in those silent, uncelebrated, relentless, unseen hours. And once you embrace that reality, once you commit to showing up when no one sees, once you invest consistently in your growth, once you prioritize preparation over applause, once you work when it's inconvenient, when it's boring, when it's difficult, then nothing can stop you. Because your future has already been constructed by the hours you put in today, the hours no one saw, the hours that matter most. And those who understand this principle realize that their life is theirs to shape, their destiny is theirs to build, and their greatness is theirs to claim. Because every unseen hour is a building block, every private effort is a cornerstone, every repetition is a vote for the person you are becoming. And when those hours are multiplied day after day, year after year, they compound into a life of extraordinary achievement, impact, and fulfillment. And that is the essence of success. The work done when no one is watching, the consistent dedication that lays the foundation for everything visible, the relentless investment in yourself when comfort, distraction, and doubt are present, and the knowledge that your future is created not in the applause, not in the spotlight, not in recognition, but in the quiet, unseen hours where true effort, focus, growth, and transformation take place. And the sooner you realize that, the sooner you start investing in those hours, the sooner you embrace the grind that nobody sees, the sooner you will become unstoppable. Because the unseen hours are where winners are made, leaders are forged, and lives are transformed. And if you choose to dedicate yourself to them, you are building a future no one can take away, a life no one can replicate, a legacy no one can diminish, because the hours nobody sees are the ones that ultimately define everything that everybody notices. And now, as we bring everything together, it's time to understand that the journey you're on is defined not by the moments that are visible, not by the applause, not by the recognition, not by the trophies or the accolades, but by the countless hours you dedicate to preparation, by the unseen efforts you commit to every single day. Because those unseen hours are where character is forged, where resilience is built, where skill is sharpened, where mindset is strengthened, where habits are formed, and where your future is created. And it's so easy to underestimate the power of what happens in those hours because it doesn't feel like progress. It doesn't provide validation. It doesn't give instant satisfaction, but just because it is invisible doesn't mean it is ineffective. Because the silent, consistent, focused work is the foundation for everything you want to achieve. It is the engine that drives success. It is the unseen grind that separates those who reach their potential from those who fall short. And when you embrace that reality, when you internalize the idea that your destiny is built in the hours no one sees, you start to view your life differently because you begin to understand that every choice you make, every habit you build, every effort you put in, every moment you invest in your growth matters more than any external factor, more than luck, more than talent, more than opportunity. because your commitment compounds, it multiplies, and over time it becomes unstoppable. It becomes undeniable. It becomes the force that carries you toward your goals, regardless of obstacles, setbacks, distractions, or doubt. And that is why you cannot wait for motivation. You cannot wait for perfect condition. You cannot wait for someone to notice or approve. Because waiting is the thief of potential. Waiting is the enemy of progress. And every day you delay is a day where momentum is lost. And the truth is that no one else is going to show up for your life the way you can. No one else is going to invest in your unseen hours the way you can. No one else is going to sacrifice for your dreams the way you can. And the sooner you realize that, the sooner you take full ownership. The sooner you understand that it is your responsibility, your choice, your effort, and your commitment that determine whether you rise or remain stagnant, whether you achieve or settle, whether you grow or remain the same. Because nobody else is accountable for your life the way you are. And accountability starts with showing up consistently. Even when it's hard, even when it's boring, even when it feels unnecessary, even when the results aren't immediately visible. Because what you do today in the unseen hours compounds into the life you will live tomorrow. And every decision to act, every choice to prepare, every moment of focus, every disciplined action adds to the foundation of your future success. And that is why greatness is never accidental. Greatness is never random. Greatness is always the product of intention, repetition, persistence, and unwavering commitment. And when you start living with that mindset, when you start valuing the unseen hours, when you start investing in the process, you begin to understand that your potential is limitless. Your capacity is enormous. Your ability to grow, to achieve, to impact, to create is far beyond what you've imagined. And the only barrier is how consistently you show up, how relentlessly you pursue your craft, how unwaveringly you commit to your growth. And when you accept that truth, when you embrace it fully, your life changes. Because now you understand every early morning, every late night, every moment of preparation, every repetition, every small improvement, every step forward, no matter how invisible it seems, is building a version of yourself that can achieve extraordinary results. And that version of yourself is being forged right now in the hours no one sees, in the fold. The silent sacrifices in the private work, in the relentless pursuit of excellence, in the repetition, in the momentum, in the consistency, in the unseen grind. And it is in those hours that you become not just successful, but resilient, not just capable, but unstoppable, not just talented, but extraordinary. Because talent without effort is wasted potential. Opportunity without preparation is squandered. And vision without action is meaningless. And now you have the choice to act, to commit, to dedicate yourself to the unseen hours, because those hours, more than anything else, determine your trajectory, they determine your result, they determine the life you will lead, they determine the legacy you leave, and the sooner you internalize that, the sooner you begin building a future that cannot be denied, a life that cannot be replicated, a success that cannot be taken away. Because the unseen hours are yours. They are under your control. They are the secret currency of achievement. And when you master them, when you protect them, when you respect them, when you invest in them consistently, every day, without excuses, without delays, without hesitation, you are investing in a future that is inevitable, a future that is unstoppable, a future that reflects the effort, the consistency, the commitment, and the relentlessness of your present action. And that is why every small action matters, because small actions repeated daily create massive change. And no effort is wasted when it is aligned with growth, when it is part of a deliberate process, when it's consistent. And that is why you cannot rely on motivation, because motivation is fleeting, because feelings change, because circumstances fluctuate, and because success does not wait for you to feel inspired. Success waits for you to act. Success waits for you to show up. Success waits for you to commit. Success waits for you to embrace the unseen hours. And when you understand that, when you internalize that, when you live by that, you gain power, you gain control, you gain momentum, you gain clarity, and your life begins to shift. Because suddenly your actions are no longer dictated by emotion. They are dictated by commitment, by identity, by purpose, by a standard that says you show up, you do the work, you build the foundation, you invest in yourself, and you accept that the visible results will come but only after the unseen hours have been honored. And that is the reality that separates the ordinary from the extraordinary, the average from the exceptional, the dreamers from the doers, the people who settle from the people who achieve, because everyone has access to 24 hours a day. Everyone has access to opportunity. Everyone has access to choices. Everyone has access to effort, but few choose to invest in the unseen hours. Few choose to commit when nobody is watching. Few choose to push, to grind, to repeat, to persist, to show up day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. And those who do, those who embrace it, those who respect it, those who respect it, those who dedicate themselves to it, create lives that are remarkable, lives that are impactful, lives that are unstoppable. Because the power of the unseen hours compounds, builds, multiplies, and eventually produces results that are undeniable. As you reflect on this, as you absorb the reality of what has been shared, you realize that your future is not a matter of luck. It is not a matter of timing. It's not a matter of chance. It's a matter of how you use your hours, how you dedicate yourself when no one sees, how you act consistently, how you push through resistance, how you invest in your growth, how you build habits, how you create momentum, how you repeat the small actions that compound into extraordinary results. And when you commit to that, when you live by that, when you embrace the process fully, your life begins to transform because you are no longer at the mercy of circumstance. You are no longer a passenger in your own journey. You are no longer waiting for motivation or luck or approval or validation. You are the driver, you are the architect, you are the builder, you are the one shaping your destiny with every unseen hour you dedicate and every choice you make and every action you take. And the beauty of it is that nobody can take that away from you. Nobody can replicate your effort. Nobody can undermine your commitment. Nobody can diminish your work because it is yours. It is private. It is consistent. It is yours alone. And over time, that work, that dedication, that focus, that relentless pursuit of growth and excellence in the unseen hours manifests in results, in recognition, in achievement, in mastery, in success, in impact, in influence, in will, in fulfillment, in freedom, in opportunity, in legacy. And when that happens, when all of that comes together, it is undeniable, it is visible, it is powerful, and yet it is only the reflection of what happened when nobody was watching, when nobody noticed, when nobody applauded. When the work felt boring, when the effort felt heavy, when the progress felt slow. Because that is where the real work happens. That is where the real growth occurs. That is where the foundations of greatness are built. If you can understand that, if you can internalize that, if you can live by that, then your life becomes unstoppable because you are no longer a slave to circumstances. You are no longer limited by talent. You are no longer waiting for opportunity. You are no longer relying on motivation. You are no longer dependent on external validation. You are self-sufficient. You are committed. You are consistent. You are relentless. You are unstoppable. And your future is being built today in the unseen hours, in the silent grind, in the quiet commitment, in the relentless repetition, in the investment of your time, energy, effort, focus, and dedication. And that is the secret to true success. That is the truth of achievement. That is the reality of greatness. That is the principle that separates those who dream from those who do, those who aspire from those who achieve, those who wish from those who become. And the choice is yours because the hours are available. The opportunity is present. The potential is waiting. The tools are in your hands. The foundation can be built. And every action you take, every habit you form, every moment you dedicate, every unseen hour you invest compounds into a future that is unstoppable, a life that is extraordinary, a legacy that is lasting, a story that cannot be erased. And so as you step forward from here, remember that your future is not determined by chance. It is not determined by talent alone. It is not determined by luck. It is determined by the unseen hours, the silent effort, the relentless consistency, the repeated small actions, the dedication to growth, the investment in yourself, and the commitment to show up when nobody is watching. And if you embrace that fully, if you commit to it completely, if you make it your standard, your practice, your identity, your way of living, then nothing can stop you, nothing can derail you, nothing can limit you, nothing can define you but the work you put in. And that is the power The reality, the truth, the promise, and the unstoppable force of the unseen hours, the grind that nobody notices, the dedication that nobody applauds, the consistency that nobody recognizes, because it is in those hours, in that work, in that commitment, that your future is built, that your destiny is forged, that your success is created, and that your life is transformed. And now it is your turn, your choice, your responsibility, your opportunity to embrace it, to honor it, to dedicate yourself to it, to invest in it relentlessly, and to build a future that is unstoppable, extraordinary, remarkable, and undeniable, because your future is built in the hours no one sees.